Hey everybody, welcome back. Today's video is a little unique because I'm doing a house call, and I don't do those often, but I'm actually driving up north to with my wife and my daughter, and returning a pair of shoes back to my client, and then I'm going to be stripping, dyeing, and shining a pair right there at his house on video, and you'll be able to see the entire process from beginning to end. So that's something unique I've never done before. I'm trying to test out different styles of filming, and I'm going to be using this camera and my iPhone interchangeably, so we can I can get some long footage and do it like that. So I'm testing out some vlog style video footage, and maybe you'll like that. So today's video is going to be long for sure, but I hope you enjoy it, and let's get started. One more thing, I know that iPhones and DSLRs have different audio quality, so you might get a difference in how good it sounds, so I apologize beforehand if some areas it doesn't sound very good. In those segments, I'm going to try to do I'm going to try to record over with my voice, so it'll be a triple threat. I'll be doing everything I can, like I usually do. So that's that. So let's do this. I love San Diego weather. The day was beautiful and bright, but not too hot, which is my absolute favorite. My wife and I drove up north to see my client, and as you can see here, this is the extension for the trolley that's going to be connecting the La Jolla UTC area with the rest of San Diego. I actually went to school and graduated from UC San Diego, which is down the street from this freeway right here, so we're really excited about that. Go Tritons! So when I got to my client's house, his family was over and they were having an awesome reunion. So the audio was unfortunately unusable. I had some great conversations, but they were more of a private nature, so I don't think I'm going to be using the audio. But all in all, it was a great time. There were dogs and babies and family members, but I had fun just sitting down and shining a pair of shoes in person right there and then. That's something I've never done before, and I was surprised and happy with the results. So I started using shoe trees as always, that's obvious, but I'm using vintage trees. I know a lot of you have asked where I got them. They're not great for absorbing sweat because they're not made of cedar, but they're great for maintaining shape when you're working on shoes. If you'd like a pair, just go on eBay and type in vintage shoe tree and you'll find a dozen of them. They're more expensive, obviously, but they're worth the price when you're restoring shoes. So I'm using acetone as always. I always use Walmart brand. It's just nail polish remover, but it's 100% acetone. And I use butyl gloves to protect my hands from acetone. I think you'd be fine if you do it once in a while, but since I do it so often, I want to make sure my fingers are protected and they don't dry out, and I don't suffer any of the negative, the adverse effects of using acetone. So I'm removing the finish from the vamp area right here. I know that makes some people nervous, but if you just use a good amount and you don't go overboard, the shoe will be completely fine. And that's to create that contrast so that when I add the patina, it looks really great. So excuse my voice. I woke up with a sore throat this morning, and my voice sounds kind of kind of sick. So I apologize for that beforehand. I've also gotten a lot of questions about acetone use. There are a lot of great products like Reno Mat and rubbing alcohol and saddle soap, which can all remove old polish and help you when you're shining shoes, and I think they're all great. I use all of those in other areas when I'm shining, or interchangeably in different times, but at different times. But acetone, and I keep saying this, nothing works like acetone when you're working on heavy jobs. I've yet to find one chemical that can do what acetone can do, which is completely remove polish, dirt, grime, even the factory finish. Nothing else works as well. So I really highly recommend it when you're doing tough jobs, or when you're removing the finish off of a shoe, which is what I'm doing right here in just certain areas where I'm going to be applying dye. So use acetone carefully, but use it on areas where you're going to be dyeing. We're going to be using a leather dye because the leather dye needs to absorb into the leather, and if there's a factory finish, if there are creams and waxes on top, the leather dye won't get in there and it'll look terrible. It'll just kind of come off. So be careful when you're using acetone. I've gotten some emails where guys ruin their shoes, and I don't want that to happen to you. So just be really careful and cautious, and don't worry too much about it, though. I think it's a kind of a middle ground that people have a hard time staying in. It's the middle ground of being cautious and being really careful and meticulous, but also letting things flow and being artistic and not being afraid to take a leap of faith. And that's kind of where I stand with the acetone. So just be careful, and you can find it anywhere. You can go to CVS, Rite Aid, Walmart, Target, doesn't really matter. They have it everywhere. Okay, it's now time for the leather dye. I used black on this pair, and usually I decide what color I'm going to use by the color of the sole, by the edges, so that this shoe has black edges and black piping around the leather, so I decided to go with black. So I used the little applicator, I call it the lollipop applicator. I put some dye, and then I used my finger in a rag to massage it in and to push it in different areas so that it looks darker in the front, and then there's a gradual effect going back. Okay, that's what looks great. If you just have like dye and then a straight line and it ends and then there's leather, it doesn't look good. So you want that gradual darkening effect, and it looks really beautiful. And that's kind of scary for some people to do. And the first time I tried it, it was definitely scary. I used to just use shoe cream for this effect, but after a while I decided I want it to be permanent. So I started using leather dye, and it was just a hassle at first, and I've ruined so many pairs of shoes and have had so many accidents. So don't worry, be patient, and just do the best you can when you're using leather dye. So that's what I did. I used the little lollipop applicator. As you can see here, I add some dye, and it doesn't look great at first because it looks the contrast is really stark. So you add some dye like that, and then you get a rag, and you massage it in, you apply it, and you start to spread it out artistically to add that patina, that darkening, that burnish effect on the toe, which I really like. It's a really popular look, and I think it looks great. Okay, now I'm also going to be adding burnishing along the eyelets. That's also a popular look, and it kind of matches with the darkening toe, the burnish. And it's the same process. You add some dye, and you rub it in with your finger, and you spread it out. And so you can see at first it wasn't really taking. I was a little bit worried, but you got to just get in there and really commit and add the dye. I know it's kind of scary to commit and just put it on there because you spend a lot of money on a pair of shoes, and they're an investment, so you don't want to ruin them. But then you add it in, and at first it doesn't look great. As you can see, it just looks kind of terrible, but you just got to keep going and have faith in the process, because I've had guys who get to this point and they're like, oh, it's ruined, I can't do it anymore. You just got to keep going, and you might mess up, and the shoe may not look perfect, but that's kind of where it is with art. I mean, it's never going to be a science. You're just going to go in there and do the best you can to make it aesthetically pleasing. And then the great thing about art is that some people love it, some people hate it. So I know a lot of people aren't going to like what I did to this pair, but that's what the owner wanted, and I had a great time. And as long as the owner's happy, as long as you're happy with how your shoes look, within reason, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. I've had guys who hate styles that I really love, and I don't like styles that other people really, really love as well. So unless you're dressing like literally wearing clown shoes and dressing like a clown, I think you can use you can wear your own style and look great. So that's really kind of where I stand when it comes to patinas and burnishes. As long as you like it and you're happy with how it turned out, I think you're more than justified in wearing them and ignoring people who don't like it. So that's kind of my the Elegant Oxford philosophy, is to do what you like when it comes to your shoes within reason. Okay, because I don't want to see neon green or or really extreme styles, but you know what I mean. Okay, speaking of going with the flow, while I was dyeing this pair, while I was adding the burnishing, I completely knocked over the bottle of dye, and it got everywhere. It shot straight across the room onto my client's wall and all over his table. And he was really gracious, and he was so kind. He told me, don't worry about it. This is a house of artists. He had paintings, and he actually writes comic books. So he was super, super nice about it, and we got in there and cleaned it up. So it's just a lesson for you that sometimes things just don't go the way you thought they were going to go. I was so dang embarrassed. I told him, this is the worst thing that's ever happened, and he told me, it's totally okay. You should see what ends up happening in this house all the time. I spill paint. I get stuff on the walls. He's like, this is totally fine. Don't even worry about it. He was so nice and gracious. So I really want to thank him for that. and we got right back to shining. It just a 20-minute cleanup and right back into it. So I mean, sometimes that's how life goes. Sometimes you spill the dye everywhere, and you just got to get in there and clean it up. So I found that in life, when things come up, when you go through trials or hard times, it's best to just try to laugh them off and do the best you can, and accept that some situations do suck, but it's not worth getting really upset over. So I'm really grateful that he was just so kind. Okay, so the shoes are ready and dyed, and now I'm adding Saphir Renovateur to nourish the leather and kind of hydrate it because it's really dry. I used acetone. And that's just a really good idea once you've dyed a shoe. Once the shoe's cured, and I just put them out in the sun for 15 minutes, and it did its job. I thought the dye was going to come off a little bit, but it didn't. So if you dye a pair of shoes, put them out somewhere hot in the sun for 15 minutes, and you should be fine. I don't think you need 24 hours. I mean, I didn't have a problem at all with this pair. So I just added a little bit of Saphir Renovateur, and then afterward I used colored cream polish. Okay, and I'll be the first to admit at this point some people still get nervous. The shoe doesn't look at all what it's going to look like in the end, so they're not happy yet. Just keep going. So I used Hermes Red by Saphir to add some pigment into the vamp, into the areas I'd lightened up with acetone, just to give it that pop, to not leave the leather pale and gray. So make sure to use colored cream. Saphir has really high pigment. That's why I really like them, because they get right in there and add a lot of color. And I think that's really fantastic. I used Bordeaux, which is really purple. It's really more of a regal, beautiful purple color. And I added that to the dark areas where I had added some burnishing. And that's just for a good contrast between the black, the purple, the Hermes Red, and it ends up looking really, really beautiful and really put together. So there I am adding Hermes Red again, and adding Bordeaux where I can in the darkening areas, just to add that mixture of different reds and purples to kind of put it all together. So I let everything dry for about 15 minutes, then I went to town and started brushing vigorously. So make sure to brush and brush and brush to make sure all that cream heats up and it starts to shine really nice. So that I spent about 10 minutes brushing the shoes and making sure everything looked perfect, because I didn't want any cream to be left on there dry. And after that, I got ready for the mirror shine. Now this is what everyone's been asking for, is a continuous start to finish mirror shine, and this took me I think 35 minutes. So the following segment is actually 35 minutes of a mirror shine. So I started with just the dye. I had finished the dye and no mirror shine, and I started right here. Okay, so I used black and burgundy wax, and I started by applying black to the toe to match the burnishing effect, the black dye. So I added wax and then added a drop of water, as you can see, a little tiny drop, and then I started buffing again with it's not hard pressure, but it's not light pressure. It's like this perfect pressure right in between. Then I used my breath and I started buffing again. So you want to add wax and buff and make it so that it looks so that it's never really dry. Once the wax starts feeling dry, you need to add moisture. You kind of want to keep the wax moisturized and looking great, or the mirror shine's not gonna come out. So this was a long process. I'm not gonna act like it happened quickly. It took me 35 minutes to do both pairs, and as you'll see at the end, I think it looked really fantastic. So a mirror shine can take 35 minutes, or it could take 4 or 5 hours. I've had pairs that don't cooperate at all, and it takes 4 or 5 hours. So after a while, you just switch to the next pair, and then you do them interchangeably after that, one at a time. So I'm just waiting here, giving it a second to rest, and then I go back to it. So it's really, I mean, I do get emails and messages where people are worried, and they're like, oh, my shoe's not looking, the mirror shine's not coming through. And I tell them, just be patient. Don't rush things. This is going to take a long time. You have to get everything down perfectly. Like, you do have to learn how much pressure to add. If you add too much pressure, you'll pull the wax off. If you add too little, you'll never get the shine. It'll just turn, you'll get a sticky residue, and it won't ever harden, and you won't get that shine out. So it's really important to be patient, to keep trying, to experiment a lot. If you're only mirror shining your best pairs and it doesn't work out, you need to go to the thrift shop, buy a really nasty pair, and try mirror shining on that. Like, experiment with everything you can. I found cold water, 100% cotton rag, which I use. I get an extra long t-shirt from Walmart, and I just cut it up into strips, and that always helps. And make sure the rag is around your fingers really tight. It can't be loose, or it'll wrinkle and pull off wax. So make sure it's tight, and get in there and do the best you can. Just add small drops of water. Don't add too much. If you add too much water, the leather will oversaturate and overhydrate, and then it won't shine at all. You'll get a patch of I don't know how else to explain it. You'll get this dull patch that will not shine no matter what you do. You could add 100 layers of wax and it would not shine. You have to let it dry overnight for a couple of days and get back to it. And that's happened to me a lot. The first time it happened to me, it drove me absolutely crazy. I did not know what to do, and I could not shine the shoe. I thought I had pulled the finish off. So don't use as much water as you think. Just tiny little droplets and a little bit of wax. Don't go overboard. Don't think you have to use too much. And what I found that helps is, after adding a layer of wax, wait 10 seconds and then add the drop and then get into it. So there are so many ways and techniques to mirror shining, and there are a lot of great patina and mirror shine artists out there. I'm not the only one, and I'm not good. I don't consider myself great or good at all. There are guys out there who do an amazing job. I'm just trying to teach, trying to show what I know, and it's not really comprehensive. I really wish I could sit down with everyone personally and teach them how to mirror shine, but it's something you got to get in there and try yourself and learn, even though it's going to be hard and you're going to screw up a bunch and not get it down. So I won't narrate the next 35 minutes, obviously, because it's a really long process, and you can skip over it if you'd like to the end. But for those who want to see, it's one shot, continuous. There are no breaks. You can see the entire process of me starting from a dull shoe all the way to a glass finish. And I know that's something some of you wanted to see. Next time, I'll make sure that there's some ambient noise and you can hear everything. But I wasn't expecting to walk in on a family reunion, so I didn't want YouTube hearing, all the family stories and all the private conversations. So I apologize for that, in advance. But I hope you enjoy this segment of the 35-minute mirror shine.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the before shot. We're all done. And here is the after. I think the mirror shine came out great. I even told my client, I told him this is really fantastic. The mirror shine came through in just 30 minutes and the shoes look great. So I'm really pleased with how these turned out. He was extremely pleased and happy with the final result. So that's what matters to me is that my client's happy. And I'd actually never done a house call like this. I'd never gone over. I usually do house calls to go over and pick up a pair and then take them home if the person's local, but I've never actually gone over, sat down and shined a pair and completely transformed it in one sitting. So that was the first, and it gave me confidence that I could do it much faster. So it's possible, guys. You could transform a pair in 3 hours, which is what this took. I got there at noon and I left around 3 p.m. So it was a good continuous shine. And the part I was nervous about was the mirror shine, but everything turned out great. So here they are. I hope you really like them. And afterward, my wife was just super hungry, so we stopped at Sonic. And we actually don't go there very often, but it was right off the freeway, so we went in there. And I love tater tots, and she wanted a hot dog. So for those who know me, I love tater tots. And then we visited one of my best friends, and that's his cat, Tai Tai, and we had a barbecue that evening, which was really fun. I always love spending time with friends. And we had such good conversations. We stayed till around 1 in the morning, and there's my daughter fighting sleep. So I hope you guys had a great time and you enjoyed this video. And this is unique. It was kind of a vlog thing. So if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't, that's okay. Let me know too. And I'll keep filming different types of videos. So thanks for watching, guys.